day I die.
Hello and welcome. I am so glad you are here. This is the Empowered Career Woman podcast, where we introduce women who are at the top of their careers or who built a business from the ground up. They're going to share their secrets to their success and intimate details about their life, loves, and rise to the top. The Empowered Career Woman is proudly presented by Medicare Misty. Medicare Misty is a real person who can help answer your Medicare questions. Get real help from her team at MedicareMisty.com. And I'm your host, Lisa McCluskey. And now, let's podcast. Well, today I am so honored to be joined in the studio by Dr. Renee Gordon. She is a world-class expert with over 14 years of uplifting hearts and guiding souls to their ultimate connections. And she is quite the dynamo. She is an in-demand international speaker. I do mean international. She has been all around the world, and she has been guiding souls to their ultimate connections. She has penned several books, such as Finding Your Love at Last, and its sequel, Finding Your Love at Last Duets, and that one's for couples. And she has another book that has been a hot seller, which is Swipe for Mr. Right. She's been the architect of countless love stories. Dr. Renee boasts a doctorate of philosophical theology and advanced human sexuality. Welcome, Dr. Renee.
Well, thank you, Lisa. Thank you for this golden opportunity, and I really appreciate you.
Well, it's such a pleasure to get to know you, and it was very serendipitous how we came to be acquainted. And when I heard your story, I just thought you have got to come on in the Empowered Career Woman podcast and share that with other ladies who are in their careers looking to move up and carve their own niche in the world like you have. So let's dig in and let's get started we're going to cover everything from where you went to school. We're going to talk about where you thought you were headed in your career and how you made the transition, and have you give some sage advice to those ladies who are coming up in their careers. So first of all, let's tell people, where did you get started? Where did you go to school, and what were you majoring in?
I got my doctorate in philosophical theology as well as advanced human sexuality from Newport University. And you might think that that combination is unusual, but here's what makes it so much having behind it is common sense, is understanding human relationships at its deepest level, which requires a philosophy of psychology and philosophy. So it's about a way we think, the way we believe, and the way we connect. And love, faith, and human intimacy are all intertwined, and studying them together gave me the profound understanding what truly drives people to do what they do and the relationships that they create, their confidence and their personal growth. And I wasn't just interested in learning all about love, but I was so interested in mastering the art and science behind it was more so poignant in my life.
So what drew you to that? What was the genesis of your desire to work with people on love and relationships?
What got me to that place is I always had people over for dinner. I called it my orphan dinner, and it would be between 28 and 32 people I'd invite to my home, and it would be people meaning orphaned, that they would be singles or couples, and during a holiday, Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving, where they had no place to go, and it would be a lot of people at my home, and I would have a sit-down dinner. I would cook everything, and all they would bring is a bottle of wine, which would be perfect. And we always talked. They said, you date other people, but you never bring anyone for us to meet. And so I said, well, why should I bring anyone home for my family and friends to meet if I'm not going to marry them? So they said, well, we got to get you connected because you've been engaged so many times, and you break up with them after you get engaged, and what's all that about? And so I said, well, they weren't in alignment with my values and beliefs, so I would break up with them 2 to 3 weeks before the wedding, and we had already sent out invitations. So literally, I was engaged 9 times, and I know that's a lot of people, a lot of men, but I always return the pink slips for the car, which is the pink slip is the ownership slip of ownership. and beautiful high-end exotic cars, beautiful diamond rings. One of them was a 9.5 carat diamond engagement ring, fur coats and things like that. When I would break up, I'd give the car back, the keys, the engagement ring, and all other jewelry, as well as the fur coats, because it has an energy behind the gifts. So I always recommend it to women. If you're going to break up with someone and someone's giving you some high-end things, you return it. Don't keep it. Don't pawn it. Don't exchange it for something. Give it back to the person who gave it to you. It's the only right thing. It's right action and correct exchange. So that's very important, that there's energy behind gifts. Now, flowers are different. I love flowers. I always kept the flowers.
Okay, so you were in a number of relationships, and it sounds like you had a pretty solid friend circle, and they're the ones who said, hey, you might want to study this a little bit more. Is that how you got into?
Yes, I studied it because with all the engagements that I was involved with, I said, all these wonderful men on paper looks great, but I'm the center of all these relationships, and I'm the one breaking up with all of them. On paper, very wealthy, very generous, very people of influence, men of influence in political arenas, as well as entertainment. And the people that I met were just not aligned for a long-term relationship. And that's what I was looking for. Someone I can be best friends with, be the father of my children, like my little dog, and someone I can be with forever and ever. And that's what I was looking at. Not only to be with forever and ever, if through thick and thin, as being married, your vows are being married to the rich and poor, in sickness and in health. And I thought, would this person be with me in sickness? Not that I was sick or anything, because I was in perfect health. And the majority of the time I would look at them and say, this person would not be here. He would probably bail or trade me in for a 20-year-old or something like that. So that's why I said, after I thought that out and actually forecasted in the future my relationship with this person, if he's like this now, what more in 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? Would he be the same, or would he kind of bail, or it just wouldn't be in alignment? And I think if more people can actually imagine, and that's what God gave us, not just intuition, but the characteristic of using your imagination, of you can know a person's baseline of how they react and patterns, because people act in predictable patterns. You know that when the first 3 months that you're with somebody as a boyfriend or girlfriend, you can tell how they're going to react, and from your subconscious, and that subconscious is your intuition and creating that imagination of imagining what it would be like in a year, 2 years, 3 years. And that's why I tell women, don't try to convince a man to marry you. You have to be who you are and be authentic. And that word being is the be, do, and have. Being that person who you want to attract. If you want to attract more love, joy, respect, happiness, who do you have to be? You have to also be it to attract it. So you be it, you do it, and then you have it. Having is the relationship, the everlasting love relationship.
I love that. So let's get back to then your career. What were you doing at the time before you decided to focus on relationships? What was your undergrad in?
Oh, well, I was in real estate. I took my license when I turned 18. I had my sales license. When I turned 21, I got my broker's license. And in between, I was going to universities at the same time. I had gone to Paris, to Cordon Bleu, for a short time, and got my bachelor's in culinary. I came back to the States and doing some work as a consultant in food and different things in New York. And I also, I loved playing with my Barbies when I was little. So somebody had suggested, you're so good at your clothes and accessorizing and things like that. Why don't you go to a fashion institute? So I went there for a little while. I met so many wonderful people. And I got my degree in that in design. So
wow.
I worked as a consultant with Anne Klein with her resort line in Milan, Italy. I didn't mean to segue, because now it's a whole different thing. It's like, how does fashion have to do with love and relationships? But this is in my younger years, in my early 20s. And then real estate came into play. And when I was younger, my parents always wanted to put my sister and I into beauty pageants and talent shows and things like that. So I did some competition things like Miss California and then Miss Congeniality and things like that. I was in Miss Hawaii as well. So it helped me do stepping stones to meet certain people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you had quite a robust path before you landed where you are. So you were in real estate, became a broker, and then you made a pivot and went to Cordon Bleu School.
Yes.
Did you think you were going into a career with that, or was that something that you were just very interested in, but you weren't sure where you were going?
Yeah, I was just interested in it because I love cooking. I've been cooking
Right.
since I was 4
Yeah.
years old. And so I thought, well, why don't I just, get more involved with it? And I always try to do things. When I don't try, I either do or don't do. So the word try is not in my vocabulary. So I said, let's see what happens with this. So I went in there and learned a lot. Went in as a consultant because I had some friends of mine had asked, what do you think about going to Marbella, Spain? They were looking for an executive chef. And I said, I'll come in as a consultant. So I went in there. I went there to Marbella, Spain, and I was there for about 2 years about there as an executive chef till they put another one in. So I came in as temporary. But it was a wonderful experience, meeting a lot of wonderful people in Spain. One of them, and I play a lot of golf. Playing golf is a way of connecting with people as a relationship. And one of them was Sean Connery. I became close friends with him and his wife. Wonderful people. We played golf a lot. We had lots of dinners, and then I met other people from the States there in Marbella as well. So I've gotten to learn people from there. And, somebody said, they're looking for somebody, there was a scout looking for somebody for commercials for Shiseido Cosmetics. And so they said, why don't you come there and just do a audition kind of thing and send in your photos. I said, okay. So I did it, and they gave me a contract. So I left Marbella, went to Tokyo, did some commercials, 7 commercials for Shiseido Cosmetics. And just things spiraled up. Sometimes people say the word spiral is spiraling down, but it went up, and I met more people. And in my journey, and being very young, is creating relationships. Mm-hmm. And I learned that creating relationships at a very young age.
Yeah, so it sounds like you were willing to follow new opportunities that you thought might lead you to something new.
Exactly, and I know that it's creating opportunities than anything.
Would you say it's because you have a healthy sense of curiosity?
Yes, curiosity is one of the key things. Actually, I've never had a real job because the word job was not really in my DNA. My father got me involved with entrepreneurship at a very young age, and so from the very, very beginning. And my dad didn't just tell me to dream big, but he taught me how to think big. And thinking big, at just 5 years old, he gave me a book called Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. And I've told people that. They said, how do you read at 5 years old that kind of a book? I said, my dad gave me a dictionary. And my always incentive, when there's an incentive, there's a result. I've always lived by that quote, as well as how you do anything is how you do everything. So the incentive was, when I was 5 years old, he gave me the book plus a dictionary. He said, honey, at dinner time, on your 6th birthday, I want you to write a full report on Think and Grow Rich. I said, but Dad, this is the hardest book I've ever read, and I was mature at the time. I mean, still mature, but mature for my age. And he said, well, I want you to write the report, and at your 6th birthday, I'm going to give you another book. So that whole year at 5 years old, besides playing with my Barbies, I read the book and looked at the dictionary, looked at the meaning. And I read it 2 or 3 times. I wrote the summary of it, gave it to my dad at the restaurant. It was a really nice restaurant in Los Angeles called Lori's Prime Rib in Beverly Hills. And I gave him the report. He said, good job. Okay, here's your second book. Would you like me to tell you, Lisa, what the second book was? It was called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Yes.
And I said, Daddy, this is another big book. He said, well, you can do it. I believe in you. And he said that all the time. I believe in you. Just instill that. Not only he said, I love you, sweet pea, but also I believe in you. So with that confidence that my dad gave me at such a young age, he said, on your 7th birthday, you're going to read these 2 books and give me a summary of these 2 books on your 7th birthday. And that's what I did. And I did that up until I was 16. And at 16, both my dad and I were in a terrible car accident in Los Angeles. And I was driving, and 3 cars hit us. It was a homecoming, and they were drunk drivers. And so my dad flew out of the car. My left leg got mangled in the engine. And I woke up in the ambulance. My father said I was a little bit out of it. So he said, honey, I love you, and everything will be fine. And sweet pea, when we're out of the ambulance and we finish at the hospital, get cleaned up, we're going to take you to breakfast. I'm going to take you to breakfast. I said, okay. Now, this is only 10:30 on a Friday night. And that's all I remember. When I woke up in the hospital room, I said, what's going on here? So I saw a priest. I guess he was giving me last rites. I'm 16 years old at the time. I see this big cart with all these things on it. And what that was is they were going to be taking my organs out as a transplant. Not a transplant, but to I guess, harvest my organs because I was in a coma. And I said, what happened? And they said, your father passed away. I said, let me go to visit my dad. I want to go to the funeral. They said, you can't. You've been in a coma for 9.5 months.
My gosh.
And I said, what's this machine for? They said, we were going to harvest your organs. The priest is here to give you last rites. And my mother had signed off on me to unplug me from the oxygen and my life support. And when I woke up, then I heard that I was crying. And I remember a lot of the quotes that are from the books, the 2 books that I read. And I said, okay, I have to be strong. And what do I do now? My mother wasn't very supportive. So out of that, I got out of the hospital 2 weeks later, and I never went back home. I didn't go home. My mom didn't want me. It was a whole difficult situation as I was growing up with my mother. And so I set loving boundaries so I don't let her opinion or judgment affect my life. But if you set loving boundaries and come from a place of love and forgiveness, you allow people to let them be. Mm. That's another term I live by since I was very young. Let them. So, so that's what my foundation was all about when I was growing up.
So sounds like your father was very intentional and knew that he wanted to kind of foster an entrepreneurial spirit in you. And I've read these books, but I've never heard of somebody at 5 or 6 years old reading these books. So that's quite remarkable. And, you talked about loving boundaries and let it be, the concept of let it be. Is that something that has guided you in all of your business dealings, would you say, as well?
Yes. It's let them.
Let them be.
Yes. And then the be, do, and have philosophy is what I've been living by for a long time. Be in the being, B-E-I-N-G. Mm-hmm. Be, do, and have. When you're in that being of being authentic and knowing who you are, and I had to learn really quick because I was on my own, literally at 16. Some friends put me up in an apartment, paid for my rent for the first 3 or 4 months. Now I'm bandaged. My leg is mangled all the way up to my thigh. I mean, up to my hips, and it was in a very bad area of Hollywood at the time. My face is bandaged. My hair is shaved off because my head was split open because I went through the windshield. And here I am, never worked in my life, and only played with Barbies and reading books and doing great in school. I just skipped 2 grades. So I excelled at everything I did, except my dad didn't want me to work. Because he said, don't worry, but you don't have to work. I have enough money, I can take care of everything for you and your sister. So we never thought, I've never even been on a bus in Los Angeles, ever. We were always driven to school. So I was very sheltered. So being out on my own, literally, I never worked at McDonald's or anything like that. So I just used whatever I knew and to start from scratch. And I said, what am I going to do? So I had a phone. I said, I know. I could do something on the phone. So in between going to therapy sessions and taking a cab to my the therapy session, physical therapy, I had to start making a living because I only had 2 or 3 months more worth of rent left, that my friends put together for money. So I said, I could do telemarketing. My face was all bandaged. I didn't look so good. And so that's what I could do. I could sell something on the phone. And I said, I could do it. I know I can do it because I believe in myself. My dad believed in me. And living at this little apartment, I didn't have much food because there was no money coming in for the first few weeks. So it was top ramen and macaroni and cheese for 19 cents.
Wow.
You know, the Kraft macaroni and cheese?
Exactly.
I had it was just one room. There's a sort of a bathroom, but I wash my dishes in the bathroom sink. I had a little electric skillet. I can boil water, and it was macaroni and cheese and top ramen. And that's what I had. Once in a while, like I would throw some spam in there because I was like, oh, this is a bonus, once a week.
That's a treat.
That's a treat. And I said, from living in a very affluent family to this, I said, it's okay. God's got my back. And I always said that. God's got my back. In the meantime, the building that I lived in were gangbangers and Hell's Angels. And I'm a girl by myself, 17 years old now, by myself, and all these men are around me. And then at nighttime, you hear the guys coming with their motorcycles, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh. So I would always ask for my physical therapy appointment early in the morning, like at 7:30 or 8, because then I can go down the stairs with my crutches, because my leg is still busted up with metal in it. And then I come back by 9:30, they're still sleeping. So nobody even knew there was anybody in my apartment, because I kept the shades closed, because if they saw that I was singing by myself and I'm a young girl, they would bother me. So nobody bothered me for a good year because I was hiding all the time. Mm-hmm. So I said, this is perfect. And I was so happy. I was so happy because I have God. I had my books. I did my studying. I talked on the phone, but I would seal everything up so nobody would hear my voice. So I would go as far away from the front door as possible, but still doing telemarketing.
Sounds like, though, the most important thing is your father instilled in you a healthy dose of respect for yourself.
Correct. Self-respect and a confidence.
You believed that you could do anything that you needed to do.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Which I think it doesn't always happen when you enter the workforce. You always encounter people who maybe their intentions aren't all that great, and you start to doubt yourself, or they make you feel as though you're small. Mm-hmm. But you went in with a very healthy sense of self and knowing that things were going to work out to your favor.
Right. It's true. That word shrink, what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell a lot of women in what I do, I'm helping them finding love and things like that, is don't shrink to fit in a relationship. Be authentic to who you are. Because if you shrink to fit, and you're just the chameleon to fit into that man's relationship, his world, a lot of women try to go into the man's world, and that's why they quarrel, because out of that shrinking, your little child within yourself wants to come out to play.
Because you're trying to please them too. It's almost as though you shrink because you want to please perhaps the older male or the male who's in a boss position.
That's also true. In a work relationship, you want to please them or the people at the office,
right,
or the person who you marry and their family and what they think, and they'll pass judgment on me. The only person you have to worry about is God's judgment on you. Mm-hmm. And God doesn't judge. He just loves all of us. But having that confidence within yourself that you can do it, but it's coming from a place of grounding yourself in certainty.
Yes, I love that. So some advice that you would have for young women when they are coming into a workplace setting, how can they show up as more powerful and confident in themselves without alienating people, without the people in the room thinking, well, who's she? Who does she think she is? What are some of the ways that you kind of navigated that, showing up powerful and being influential and able to get things done that you wanted to get done?
Well, there's a term that I've been down and out where there's a word called pivoting, and pivoting is not failure, but it's a strategy. So the point is, in my career where I was chasing success the wrong way, or working harder instead of smarter, or burning myself out, trying to force things that weren't working. And then I went back to my foundation. What if I just let go? What if I just stop forcing and start aligning myself with my values and beliefs? Now people say, what does that mean? They really don't know what a value is. I'll give you my top values right now. And I always ask women, what are your top values? Because before you even write a profile, you want to, if you're single, to like Match.com or something like that, what are your values? So you have to align yourself who you're going to marry with their values, and it has to connect. So my top value is God, family, love, finance, freedom, and legacy. And the legacy part of how I live my life now, I've written 11 books about love and relationships, single people and for married couples. The first one is God. God always has your back, and always know what your faith is, that you put faith in yourself, and God has faith in you. When you have that, and the other one, of course, is family. My family's my husband, that for 25 years, and we have 4 little Maltese dogs that are 4 pounds each. That's my family, and I love them to pieces. The other one is love. Respect is very important to me, as well as freedom and legacy. And freedom is the freedom that I have as an entrepreneur. I set my own schedules, but it is a lot harder. You got to hustle every day, and you have to forecast budgeting and things like that. And how can I be in front of more people as an entrepreneur? Things like that. So it's also knowing who you are, and whoever you marry, what job you get, and align yourself with the values of the company you're going to work for, or aligning yourself with the person that you're going to marry.
Yeah, you hear a lot about, nowadays they talk about be your authentic self, and many people don't know what that means. What does that mean? Does that mean I can say whatever I want to say? But it sounds like being your authentic self is more about deciding what values are going to guide you in business. Like you've set out, these are my, my true north. These are my true north values, and everything that I do has to align according to these true north values.
Mm-hmm. Well, I agree with that, but what I want to share with a lot of people who are your listeners is owning the power unapologetically, and listen. Women are taught to shrink to fit, to make others feel comfortable. Mm-hmm. We're told, don't be too loud, don't be too assertive, don't be too confident. But enough of that. Here's the deal. You're never too much. They are just not enough. So the key is confidence. Isn't loud, it's certainty. When you believe in yourself, you don't need to convince anyone else. You lead, you serve, and you let them react however they want. And the way I share this with a lot of women who are in a male-dominated structure, where it's a lot of men, and I don't want to go into different industries where there's men, because we don't have that kind of time. But one of the things I want to share with you is that do not ask for permission. Just show up, speak up, and take your space. Men don't hesitate before stepping into their leadership. They never even ask for permission. So walk into the room like you own it. Walk into the room like you belong there, because you do. And I've seen this with resistance to men many, many times, and I've heard about it from a lot of women who I work with. The answer is, the secret is, don't take it personally about how men treat you. Let them underestimate you. Let them dismiss you. Just all you have to do is outwork them, outshine them, and let your success speak louder and louder than their doubts. And I've experienced this a lot with whether men and women.
Yeah. I'm going to say I'm shouting here hallelujah, because I worked in government, and then I was in healthcare. And so many times that as a woman going into a room where you think everybody is smarter than you, you are afraid to speak up. But your perspective is different from everybody else's. Your experiences are different. What you bring to the table, it could add value that they never even thought about. So I love that you're encouraging women to don't shrink away in the corner. Don't sit and take notes while everybody else is speaking, but say what you have to say. Say it with authority and own it.
Exactly. And when you own it and you take authority, like exactly what you said, Lisa, there's a way of doing it where you're saying it lovingly and being feminine, but you're putting your flag. You're putting your flag in the ground, and you're planting your flag and people will have more respect for you, and women will have that respect for you as well.
Right. And also, you don't have to apologize for it. You don't have to be apologizing for having ideas. I think in the workplace, you hear women saying, I'm sorry all the time. I'm sorry, but I'm sorry, I'd like to say something. Stop apologizing.
Exactly.
I woke up this morning, stressing about a plan. Don't know which one to pick, I might need a hand.
Hi, they call me Medicare Misty.
She'll help to make the process smooth as whiskey, don't worry.
We work with several different carriers to make sure your coverage is not limited by a single company. Visit MedicareMisty.com and book your appointment today.
Don't worry, guarantee you'll be happy.
And there are women who do that, but there are also women who are very competitive.
Right. Oh, yes. As you say that, I was the other day in my Facebook memories, how it always reminds you of something. I had posted about being in a room yet again where the women were poo-pooing each other's ideas and kind of crushing each other, trying to climb over each other to get to the top and be seen as, being the most knowledgeable, while the men just kind of sat back and let them do it. And I thought, what would happen if the women decided they were going to band together and they were going to support each other instead of trying to climb over the top of each other and compete? And you can work circles around men, not to sound like I'm male bashing, but in the work setting, oftentimes women are their own worst enemies. So I love what you have to say about, network and support each other, be supportive of other women's ideas, because it's not, if you win, I lose, but if you win, we all win.
Exactly. And women, what I've found in my life or my experience is some women are very competitive. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely.
So I have can I share something about that?
Yes, I love that.
Well, I've met a lot of women who are very competitive. Some of them are very, very jealous. And what you were just saying, they climb over one another like crabs.
Right.
And they want to pull the other woman down. Now, not the men, but they'll pull each other down. I say, how can you do that? And so I found women kind of catty and small thinking. And so I choose not to engage in that drama. So the right women in power, I share this with a lot of people, a lot of women, is the right women in power empower each other. The wrong ones compete. And I've learned to let them gossip, let them play small, let them stay in their stuckness, because I'm too busy building and worrying about my own competition. Let them be worrying about that. And that's what I want to share, is that let them be if they're small-minded, let them just be. Because it's just, the world is too big to be worried about somebody else, what they're doing, what they're saying, what they're wearing, what their experience is. It is what it is, and move forward. There's a lot of pettiness with women, and I'm not sure if it's in their DNA, but I have a lot of strong masculine characteristics, even though I am a real woman. But it's embracing your femininity, embracing that you can still work in the office, or you still get great, like for instance, if little girls can get great grades in school, be a strong athlete, and still come home to play with her Barbies.
Right.
And still come home and wear her pink or her sparkly things, and still be feminine, but stay strong. And that's what my father instilled in me. Be the little girl, play like a boy, but not, and play tough, but keep your femininity and be strong and have confidence within yourself. And that grounding and certainty, that's the most important thing. If the ladies out here who are listening, instill that in your little girls, grounding them in certainty.
I love that. And, women really do have it all, because as you said, you can be a boss in the workplace, and then you can go home and put on a beautiful, sparkly dress and go out to dinner and be feminine and enjoy being a woman.
Yeah, exactly. In fact, husbands like that.
Right.
I know if ladies who are listening, if you're out there with your husband going out to dinner, that's another real good one. Dress up. I know in Chattanooga it's denim and flannel and boots and blah, 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 no makeup. Put some lipstick on, put a little bit of effort, and husbands really appreciate that. I've asked this to a lot of number of men. They said, it would be nice to see her in a real pretty dress or something sparkly. And I tell the men, well, take them to someplace nice.
Right.
Save up your money, go to another nicer place versus a chain restaurant, and take them to J. Alexander's or Steakhouse or a Leah, Italian restaurant, something nice. And don't have your phone at the table ever. That's one of my philosophies. Don't have your phone, leave it in the car, because you want to talk and be engaging. And if you're thinking about forecasting, again, I'm talking about that word. Imagine you're at dinner, let's say a dinner on Saturday night. Start on Monday night, romancing your wife. You're eager to go out to dinner. You can't wait. You made reservations for Saturday. And then as a woman, you say to your husband, well, I'm going to wear this really pretty dress, but I'm going to surprise you on Saturday night. And have this wonderful banter back and forth. So when Saturday night comes, you're so excited. You have a great dinner, great discussion, talking about different things, a cruise or vacation or where we're going to go for the holidays, something, but not talk about stuff at home.
Right.
Like the roofer or the solar is leaking.
Or what the kids have done lately.
The kids
Yeah.
we just did a parent-teacher thing, or the dog has to go to the vet. Talk about things that are romantic as if it's a first date.
Yeah,
So that's
you're-
where my relationship is coming in. My relationship philosophy.
Yeah, you're staying connected to the mind
Exactly.
and the emotions of your significant other.
And the sex will be
Yeah,
much better on that
absolutely.
Saturday night,
Yeah, I
because
love
also
that.
the kids will be out at grandma's place or something like that, or if you're empty nesters, and you'll have a romantic evening. But plan it out. Don't just watch TV, what you normally would do. Take a shower together, massage each other, have a romantic evening, and then have something ready for breakfast in the morning. Have coffee, you know where it is. Have some pastries already bought from Needloff's Bakery, and you're there. It's like, oh my gosh, what a relaxing evening. Not like, oh, honey, we don't have any eggs for breakfast. Have everything prepared. In France, there's a thing preparing food in advance, whether it's the evening of or the planning the weekend. It's called mise en place. Have everything in its place. The flowers, taking a bath together or a shower together, something romantic that you've never done. And your husband's going to say, wow, where did this come from? I mean, because something you've never done, or taking a shower together and washing his back. I say, that seems so weird. But I said, it doesn't cost any extra money.
Right.
And I tell men, just one flower from Publix or Scenic or Food City, just some flowers that are there. A woman appreciates that, and it doesn't have to be on Valentine's Day. You can have Valentine's Day every day or every weekend if you choose to.
Yeah, that's great. That is fantastic. So, while your journeys have taken you from Los Angeles to Spain, and you've made your way here to Chattanooga. So, what brought you here? What attracted you to Chattanooga?
Well, what attracted me to Chattanooga was the fact that I wrote a letter to God, and in 2 days I had 9 signs from God about Chattanooga, not Nashville, not Knoxville or any other place. Not even the name Tennessee came to be, and it was just the name Chattanooga. And so I love Chattanooga, and as I've gotten to learn more about Chattanooga, it has been where the culture of the people, the restaurants, the culture of business that are here are something that is just unique and different than any other place I've actually have been. And I just love being in Chattanooga. It's just a wonderful place to live. It's family oriented. It seems very safe. I love the concerts during the summertime, and it's just. And I love the restaurants. The restaurants are phenomenal. Something that I've never experienced before. Even though I came from Beverly Hills, the restaurants there are very nice too. But it's just a different culture. And life doesn't give you a straight line. What it does is sometimes it gives you unpredictable and sometimes a messy ride full of detours and pivots. So it wasn't that easy to come up with. It came easy moving here to Chattanooga, but I didn't map out my career and this path so perfectly. And writing a letter to God has made me see things in a whole lot different. differently. And what has done is writing letters to God has opened doors and had me have the courage to walk through those doors that no longer serve me. So living in Los Angeles didn't serve me anymore. But moving to Chattanooga wasn't just about the location. It was about alignment. And I know I wanted to be somewhere I could make an impact, connect with incredible people, and continue to grow my reach as a relationship expert. Sometimes the best thing you could do is just trust your intuition that God gave us. And your brain talks you out of that. So don't doubt yourself. When you feel that intuition, that little voice, or sometimes it's a voice that's screaming,
Right.
you got to listen to that voice, because it's maybe it's not God, but his guardian angels or your guardian angels. I call that his foot soldiers. That's your intuition. And we are connecting to God, especially if you go by the river, walk barefoot by the river, and you feel your feet onto the soil. Not when it's raining, of course, but you're grounding your body and soul into the heart of the earth, especially by the water, because it has negative ions. The water is the river, Chattanooga River, and then being in the dirt, barefoot. Not to walk around Chattanooga barefoot. I'm not saying that either. But literally being at peace and literally meditating and be in that quiet space, even if you have to put in headsets or something to have that quiet space. Now, I can only say that in Chattanooga because it's such a safe area. You couldn't do that in Los Angeles because the river that we have, the LA River, is dirty and full of homeless people and old cars. So I always have to distinguish when I say, I live by the river, by the Chattanooga River, but we're not homeless. We live in a home, with real roof and things like that. So it's a different way of saying living by the river here or living by the LA River in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Two different things.
That's a wonderful way to tune out the external noise, because when you're young, as a young woman entering a career, you're getting a lot of advice from people as to what you should do, what you shouldn't do. And you think, well, I'm young, I can't make these decisions. I need to look at older people. I need to look at my mom, or I need to look at my boss to make these challenging decisions. Like what you're saying is, I love the idea that you have of writing that letter to God.
That's very important. And not only writing a letter to God, but you're talking about young women. And one of the things can I share some of my inspiration?
Sure.
When I was a little
Would
girl?
love that.
Well, not a little girl, but younger, is I looked at all the people who have been there before me, whether it's Oprah, Mother Teresa, Maya Angelou, Mary Kay from Mary Kay Cosmetics.
Yes.
They all came before me. What did they do so I don't have to make so many mistakes? There's a lot of women out there or people who say, oh, I know. So if you know and you're not in a good place, then you really don't know. So always listen to people who have experienced it and follow that path or whatever it is. You don't have to be them, but you can emulate. I like that characteristic of that person, or I like the characteristic of this person who's of notoriety. Mary Kay Cosmetics is another one. I followed her when I was younger. It's like, wow, if she can do it, I can do that too.
Yeah, I followed her as well. I was actually a Mary Kay consultant.
Oh, me too.
Yeah,
me
were
too.
you?
Yes.
Yeah, it was a great company, and as you mentioned, the values that she aligned her values with her business. Going back to what you said, it is decide what your values are and align those to everything that you do going forward.
And her values is God,
Right? It
and
definitely
family,
is.
and career.
Yes.
And she says that to all her Mary Kay consultants. And so actually I do that also. I mean, I'm also a Mary Kay consultant now.
Are you really?
Yes. And
There isn't anything you can't do. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, no,
if I asked you to go and scrub in to do some surgery,
brain
I'm
surgery,
pretty sure
I
you
don't know
could do
about
that.
part. I don't know about that part. I don't think I could be an astronaut or a brain surgeon, but I know that I had 37 women in my history of my life who've asked me as a consultant to come into their team to be a consultant. And I always said no. But when I moved to Chattanooga, within 6 months, I met a director named Anne Sherman. And she's been in business for, I think it's 52 years.
Oh, my.
49 or 52 years. And she's had 26 pink Cadillacs that she's qualified for. So she's up there in the top 3%
Right.
of Mary Kay, the corporation.
That's
So
incredible.
she's very, very successful. So if I was going to align myself with anyone, it's with her. And that's another one. Can I share that about alignment?
Sure.
You are the 5 people you align yourself with. So if you're hanging around with people who are complaining, down in the dumps, always have problems, always attracting problems, always having relationship problems, whether it's boyfriend, husband, family, friends, and always negative things happening to them. Get away as fast as you can. If you're around people who are positive, loving, always about personal development, doing well in business, and doing it with a good moral compass, five important people, you will be that. It'll raise your vibration and frequency. And also, if they're doing well financially, if they're making $1.5 million, $2 million a year, and you're making like $100,000 a year, your income from however it's going to be will increase by another 200,000 or 300,000. Just being around those 5 people, because it's the vibration and frequency. And people said, how does that happen? I said, well, here's the story. Remember when you were 12 or 13 years old and you all started your period at the same time, on the same date with the cycle, after a while, whether you're in junior high or something like that? And they said, yes. I said, it's an invisible thing. The vibration and frequency, when women have their cycle, when they're close friends, will have it at the same time. They said, as a matter of fact, we did. All my best girlfriends, there was like 4 of us. We all started our cycles at the same time. I said, exactly. The same thing with vibrational and when your vibration and frequency is measured at the same time. It's like a radio station. The frequency, when it's measured at the same time and you're hanging around those wonderful, kind, loving people, only loving, kind things will happen. Circumstances, events, and occasions will happen to you. Wonderful experiences, because you're hanging out with those wonderful people.
Yeah, that right now in today's environment where everything is so politically polarized, I think that's even more important to align yourself with those 5 important people, 5 important people who see the world from a positive perspective, and not Pollyanna-ish, but with a realistic and live their lives according to the positive values, because it is very challenging to remain true to yourself when you're in a very politicized environment.
Yeah, it is. And I don't like to discuss religion or politics, but because it is polarized and so many things now are happening.
Right.
And you don't want to get into those arguments, because it's not worth to spend that energy.
That's right. Especially in the workforce.
Exactly.
When you're at work.
There's all those doors you don't want to close.
That's right. Yeah, definitely not. So are you staying in the relationship arena now for a while? Is this
is my forever? Yeah,
this is your forever.
This is my forever home, Chattanooga. This is my forever career, which I don't know if it's called a career or not, but I love what I do. Now, I don't just have clients in Chattanooga, but I have them all over the country as well as all over the world. Even if I met somebody in Chattanooga, I would still meet them on Zoom. Whether I have clients in Chicago, Seattle, New York, Los Angeles, Dallas, Miami, many in Miami, Australia, Hong Kong, Finland, Norway, just literally all over England, in London. I have several in Italy as well. So
tell me a little bit about your relationship coaching then.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So, what would you like to know? How I help people?
Yes.
Oh, well, I help single people find everlasting love and help them find their soulmate through values and beliefs and connection. I help them write a profile, but it isn't like people ask, what's the best website I should go to find my husband? There isn't any. Whether it's Match.com or Christian Singles, or whatever it is, you can find it from pet finders, or you can find them at the market, or at church, or at the grocery store, or wherever you are, or standing in line at the bank, or the drugstore. It's your vibration and frequency within who you are. Who do you have to be? If you want to attract more love, respect, happiness, joy, who do you have to be? You have to be that first to attract that special guy. Some women don't want to struggle. Oh, I have to do that. I have to fix myself. I said, yes, not fix yourself. You have to hire somebody like myself to help you realign and get rid of all the old stuff. And they'll say, what is the old stuff? Well, remember when you were a little girl, you had a little Etch-a-Sketch and you shake it like a little box and you do a little drawing and you shake it up and as a blank slate. I help you create that blank slate, but not putting so much meaning into those other old relationships that don't support you. So you're starting off a new relationship with a clean slate, and everything is water off a duck's back. That's that piece. Oh, and if you don't do the work and you're going to go online to find that person or your person, it's like throwing up a bowl of spaghetti up into the air and seeing what sticks. Some people put more emphasis and intention with planning a cruise or a vacation than finding their special love. And that's why there's so many divorces. With couples, I share with them how to keep a relationship more alive and more loving is like we were just talking to Sean earlier about his parents. It's about respect. Men need respect. Women need love. Now, the ingredients for a wonderful relationship, whether it's husband, wife, boyfriend, and girlfriend, or your children, is not just love, but respect, acknowledgement, attention, affection, and open communication. When you have those 5 ingredients, it creates something like a combination. And maybe a combination, what does that mean? A combination like an ice cream cone. You have a cone, you have a scoop of ice cream. When you put it together, it's really delicious. It's good individually by themselves, but the combination of an ice cream cone with what I just shared is like, oh, this is pretty good. Or a big pot of stew, the same idea.
Right.
Notice I did everything with food.
Absolutely, yes. Going back to your cordon bleu training, right?
I've loved food for all my life, and I love Chattanooga because of all the great restaurants. There's only one chain restaurant here, but everything else is individually owned.
Yeah.
And both my husband and I, we love great food here.
Well, food brings people together, right?
Yes, it does. Yes.
Food is a love language.
That is my love language. My love language is in the kitchen cooking. I believe it or not.
I agree.
Yeah, I just love to cook, but I cook from a place of love.
Yes.
That's my only intention. And when you come over, because both my husband and I have hospitality backgrounds. My husband went to Johnson & Wales, actually. He has hospitality as a major as well, and culinary. He went to school with Emerald.
Oh, my.
Yes, and so when we do cooking classes, they're phenomenal. They're over the top. I can tell you about that later. And then when we have people over for dinner, it's way over the top. We just had a Valentine's Day birthday dinner for me on Friday. My birthday's on Friday, Valentine's
happy birthday.
Day. Thank you. We had like a 9-course dinner with matching wines and things like that, but with 5 entrees. And then all the side dishes too, and then really delicious appetizers. And so he did over top. He did a chantilly cake as well as a chocolate decadent chocolate volcano cake.
Oh gosh!
So I don't want to go into that.
You both
now.
are. You're such a remarkable couple.
Oh, thank you.
It's so delightful.
Oh, thank you so much.
So let me just ask you this, Renee, Dr. Renee, what impact do you want to leave on the world?
Well, I do want to end divorce. That's one of the things I want to do. That's my mission and my purpose. And people say, well, how do you do that? Well, Colonel Sanders at 87 years old said the same thing, not about ending divorce, of course, but he wanted a restaurant in all the countries of the world. At 91, he had KFC all over the world. So my mission and goal is to literally end divorce. And one of the things I want to share with everyone of making an impact is when you make this impact of what you want to accomplish before you die, your legacy. I want to wake women up to what is possible. I want to shake up women out of their own excuses of why they can't do something and make them see that more love, success, and fulfillment is not just luck, but it's creating that by choice. So I want to also let women know to stop settling, stop waiting, stop thinking they need permission to go after what they want in life, that perfect relationship, the success that they crave. I want to be the voice that ignites action, the one that makes you think, darn, that woman is right. It's time to move. It's time to get more out of my life. So when people hear me speak, which I'm an international speaker, you know that, right,
yes.
Lisa? When they work with me, whether it's as a love and relationship coach or a relationship coach if they're married. When they read my words, of course I've written 11 books, I want them to feel that they're unstoppable, that they can do anything. I want them to say, because of you, I didn't quit. I didn't quit on myself. And that's the biggest impact I want to leave, is helping women wake up to their true greatness, because they all have greatness within themselves, and believe in themselves. And in the final thought, at the end of the day, the only thing standing between you and your life is what you want, is the hesitation. And when you have that hesitation or doubt, just go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and go. you want to have progression, not perfection. Just waiting for that perfect moment. When you're constantly waiting for that perfect moment, it's not going to come because you're putting doubt. Just go for it.
That's powerful. I love that. There really is no perfect moment. Sometimes you create perfect out of messy, but you just have to start, like you said. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Go.
That's right.
But with anything, even getting out of bed to go work out at the gym or
Right.
going for a walk or a run, and it's cold and it's snowing. Okay, what can I do? Have your tennis shoes at the door. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Get the tennis shoes on. Put your leggings on, your coat, and just go.
Just go.
Yep.
Just
Just do it.
So one final question. What's inspiring you today? Or who is inspiring you today?
Oh, okay. What I had shared earlier about Mary Kay and Oprah Winfrey and Maya Angelou, people like that, they've inspired me as well as my father inspired me since I was little. The books that I've read, Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie, Jim Rohn, people like that, Les Brown, they're all inspirational. And what I do every day, I read about 10 to 12 books a month. I'm not that you have to read 10 to 12 books a month, and I read a lot of, it's all personal development, is always live by the acronym CANI, CANI, constant and never ending improvement. When you have that and you're doing it for yourself only, you're reading if you can read 15 to 20 minutes a day, whether it's the Bible or a personal development book, it will help you. If 30 minutes is even better, but do it as if your life depended on it. The other thing, too, to share with a lot of your young listeners, young women listeners, is have a gratitude journal. So important, because a lot of times people take things for granted. They remember the feeling that they had, but they don't exactly remember what incident took place, because with all the things that we have on our plate, the good things sometimes get dismissed. And they only feel like, well, that happened to me, but I forgot really what happened. But they have more of an impact when there's something negative. And that's why the news, CNN, constant and negative news. You've heard that before, right?
Everything's focused on negative.
The negativity.
It
they
gets our
repeat it.
attention.
Yes, and it repeats it over and over and over. But the more positive things you read, whether it's the Bible, which I love Esther, by the way, out of the Bible. She's one of my
Yes.
favorites. The more you focus on gratitude and being everything you have is a blessing, no matter what it is. Having failures is more like feedback. It's not a failure. It's something like, oh, okay, I can learn from that. What feedback can I learn from that so I can move forward and have a brighter future with more joy, love, and happiness in my life?
That's great. Dr. Renee, you are a blessing to so many people, and definitely have been a blessing in the short time that I've known you.
Thank you.
So I would love it if you would share with our listeners, how can they find you, your website, and how can they purchase your books?
Oh, perfect. So this is my latest book. I've written, like I said, a number of books, but Swipe for Mr. Right is on Amazon, and it's #1 in 13 different categories.
Wow. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. My husband helped me do that. He also is a book publisher as well.
Okay.
Called Wisdom Eye of Chattanooga. So we started a publishing house here in Chattanooga as well. Then there's this one, my very first book, and it's called Finding Your Love at Last, 5 Simple Steps to Attracting Your Soulmate Within 90 Days or Less. It's a hardcover book. You can see it right here. I designed the cover, and then this is me right here in the back.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. So my website, it's so easy. Website is Renee, RENEE, lovecoach.com.
Okay.
ReneeLovecoach.com. My phone number, and I'm going to give out the phone number. I have people who answer the phones, is 818-310-0775.
And
818-310-0775. And they can text me, set up a time. I'd be happy. All you have to do is mention your name as Lisa.
All
And then
right.
I'll give them a complimentary session.
Thank you. I will put all of that information in the show notes so people can look to that and easily find you.
But thank you so much.
Thank you.
What a
This-
wonderful opportunity. This is like, I feel
oh, no,
so good.
for me, I feel so privileged that you have come to be a guest on this show. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And for our listeners, please join me on the next episode of The Empowered Career Woman. I also ask, please help us grow by sharing this page and leaving us a rating and a review. And visit our Facebook page at emp.career.woman, and that's emp.career.woman. Funny story, I wanted to make the Facebook page Empowered Career Woman, but Facebook said empowered was a banned word, so I had to shorten it. So emp.career.woman. The Empowered Career Woman is proudly presented by Medicare Misty, and Medicare Misty is a real person who can help answer your Medicare questions. Get real help from her team at MedicareMisty.com. The rise to the top is not always a straight line. Sometimes the bend in the road is the most challenging, yet it leads us to where we are meant to be. If you are an aspiring business leader or entrepreneur, join us next time as we share stories of those who made it to the top. I'm Lisa, and I'll see you next time.